Good, can they hear me? Oh. Good morning, trappers. Thank you for being here and welcome to our Women's History Month assembly brought to you by MECHA. We want to acknowledge Women's History Month was first founded in March of 1978 during the Women's History Week. And during the time it was passed to Congress. And we want to recognize the vital role of a woman's role across all sectors and community to all gender equality and women empowerment. Thank you. Enjoy. Please now welcome Francisco for land and labor acknowledgement.
I want to start our assembly by acknowledging that we are on the traditional lands of the Cowlitz tribe. We as settlers, as the people who are not part of the First Nations or indigenous groups, are residing on and benefiting from their land. The Cowlitz Indian tribe are the forever people, who for generations have preserved living in harmony with the land, passing down traditions with pride. The Cowlitz people continue to remain connected to their land. They engage in cultural practices for old Cowlitz lifeways such as smelt, salmon, and river ceremonies. They join many coastal tribes in canoe journeys. They drum and sing and are called upon for funerals, naming ceremonies, healing, and celebrations. The Cowlitz people have weathered storms with honor and unity, holding tight to their independence and culture. But this is not simply a story of yesterday. It is a celebration of tomorrow and the unwavering Cowlitz spirit, as of all they have done and will continue to do. Like the songs that mark the tribe's most important moments, it is both relevant and triumphant. It is a reminder that the Cowlitz Indian tribe, the people on whose land we stand, are the forever people. We never had a song for defeat. We also want to acknowledge that our nation has benefited from the free enslaved labor of Black people. We honor the legacy of the African diaspora and Black life. We honor the knowledge, skills, and human spirit that preserve in spite of violence and white supremacy. We commit to standing up against racism and acknowledging in all facets of our life that Black lives matter. Thank you all for being here in the auditorium and for watching this assembly live stream.
Now here's a short video to show the background about Women's History Month.
Women's History Month on this March 1st, and we want to turn now to Nightline co-anchor Juju Chang, who's going to give us a little history lesson on how it all grew into the celebration we now know today.
It's March 1st, which marks the beginning of Women's History Month, a month-long celebration to honor women's often overlooked contributions to American history, like those of Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to officially become a doctor in the United States in 1849. Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, all leaders in the women's suffrage movement. And Harriet Tubman, who led hundreds of enslaved people to freedom. But what's the history behind Women's History Month? It all began in 1978 with only a week-long celebration. It was organized by the Sonoma County Commission on Women. The week of March 8th was selected to correspond with International Women's Day, which had been celebrated around the world on March 8th since 1911. The movement began to gain momentum, and the following year, other communities and school districts initiated their own celebrations of Women's History Week. Then in 1980, the National Women's History Project lobbied for national recognition, and they were heard, because in February of that year, President Jimmy Carter issued the first proclamation, which declared the week of March 8th as National Women's History Week. 6 years later, the same organization petitioned for an expansion on the event, and in March of 1987, Congress passed Public Law 100-9, proclaiming March as Women's History Month. Now every March and all month long, we celebrate countless extraordinary women who've earned their place at the table. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history. Thank you, Juju Chang, for that report.
Well, hey there.
It is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Diana Avalos Leos. Diana is a passionate community advocate and leader dedicated to improving health and education for Latino community in Southwest Washington. She currently serves as the COVID-19 Care Coordinator at the Washington State Department of Health and as a board member for Washington Health Benefit Exchange. Diana's commitment to empowering Latino youth is evident to her co-founding of LULAC Southwest Washington and her Clark County Latino Youth Conference, which later became Latino Leadership Northwest. She has received numerous awards of her tireless work, including the Bravo Award and the Clark County First Citizen Award in 2020. With her career devoted to promoting health, equality, and inclusion, Diana's leadership has made an impact in Southwest Washington. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Diana Avalos Leos.
Thank you so much. Good morning, buenos dias. It's such an honor to stand in front of on this stage in front of all of you. And when I see you all out in the audience, you all bring me hope. Because we need hope right now. And we need to continue to push forward right now. Growing up, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be standing in front of you and before you to share a little bit about my story. You see, I was just like many of you all in the audience. I'm going to be very honest. Can I be honest? Oh, yeah? Okay. So I'm going to be spitting facts and speaking truth to power. Next slide, please. Growing up, I hated to follow the rules. Hated rules. Can I get the next slide? There you go. This is me as a kid. I think I was 4 years old. I drove my parents nuts because I was bouncing off walls. I never shut up. I didn't like to follow rules. I was always riding my bike, falling off, scraping my knees. And when my parents would say, hey, you need to knock it off, I'd be like, why? Like I said, I'm speaking truth. I hated school. I did not like going to school. It was boring. I didn't fit in. English was not my first language. I only spoke Spanish coming into school. Now, I am 59 years old. Damn, I know, huh? I'm old. But here's facts. When I started kindergarten, now I was born in this country, but I didn't know how to speak English because at home we only spoke Spanish. So when I entered kindergarten, I was the only little brown girl in my kindergarten class in Santa Monica, California, a predominantly white community. I did not have English as a second language. There was no bilingual education, and there were no other children that really looked like me. It wasn't until I was in the 3rd grade when I learned what the meaning was between the connection between words in a book and language. And my teachers would tell my mother and father, she's falling behind. She doesn't know how to read. So I was labeled special education. And that's okay. Because you know what? As Kendrick Lamar says, I'm going to pop out and show them. And I did. How many of you right here, right now, have to get up and pop out and show? Stand up if that is you. Stand up if that is you. If you have to, in your lifetime, had to stand up and show them. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you for being bold and courageous to stand up. Because that's what I had to do when I was little. And that's what you have to do right here, right now, today and tomorrow. Because nothing gets done if we don't stand up. Nothing will get done if we don't stand up and show and pop out and speak up. Nothing will be done. Well-behaved women never make history. Well-behaved people will never make history. It's not just women. It's the guys too, because this can't be done alone. We need to be supportive of each other. Yeah, it's Women's History Month, but it's also People History Month every single day. Next slide, please. You see, I come from a history of strong, resilient women and people. So these two ladies over here in the blurry picture, the lady in the blue dress, that's my grandma from my dad's side. And then that's my great-grandmother, also from my dad's side. My great-grandmother was a very tiny woman, like me, small. But she had guts. She came to this country during the time that they were building the Transcontinental Railroad. She is an indigenous Mexican woman who lived to be 99 years old, right? And she came to this country pregnant with my grandma. My grandmother was born in Pueblo, Colorado. My great-grandmother went, screw this, I'm going to the States. She was courageous, she was bold, and she was tiny. And she gave no Fs. This picture over here with the older lady holding the baby, that's my grandmother and that's my mom. My grandmother, Luzmila, Grandma Luz, she was an activist in Mexico. She would call people out in the middle of the street saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong. What you're charging people for a bag of rice is robbery. She was loud and she was vocal. My mother came to this country at the age of 17, not knowing English. This was back in the 1960s. There was no Univision. There was no bilingual newspapers. There was no Spanish language radio stations to listen to. She had the courage to learn English because she realized, and she knew it, she had to know, she realized that she had children, and her children, she needed to advocate for her kids. The story of my family is like the story of many of y'all in the audience. Nothing unique, nothing special. But the secret sauce, you know what the secret sauce is? You guys want to know what the secret sauce is? You want to know what the secret sauce is? Yeah? It's having the courage and having the guts and not being afraid to move and push forward. That is the secret sauce. Don't let anyone ever tell you you can't, because you can. That is the secret sauce. Next slide, please. This is me. This was my senior picture in high school. Yeah, 1983, somewhere around that. I can't remember because it's been a long time. Let me tell you something about me that I don't really share out loud, but I'm going to share it. I was a senior in high school, and I was a teen mom. Yeah, that's facts. My son now is 40 years old, right? If somebody would have told me back then as a teen mom that I'd be standing on a high school stage talking a little bit about women's leadership and my journey, I'd be like, yeah, right. If somebody would have told me that you could make a difference, I would have never believed them. But guess what? I'm here to tell you, each and every one of you have the power to make a difference. Doesn't matter whether you speak English or not. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who your family is. Don't let anyone tell you you can't, because you can. Because that is the secret recipe, is that you can. Leadership is different, and it comes in many forms and shapes. And culture, the way you grow up and who has influenced you will shape your leadership. And leadership doesn't mean, oh, you are elected in office. Leadership doesn't mean that you are the president of this. Leadership doesn't mean that you're an important person. That's not what leadership is about. Leadership is about, from my journey, is about bringing others along and empowering others to be greater than you. I'm going to say that again. Leadership is about bringing others and empowering them to be more than you. I want you to really think about that, because too often in this society, we are told that you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to be important. No. Leadership is about empowering others to be more. Next slide, please. Leadership is also about challenges and opportunities. The special secret sauce always wins. The recipe, the sauce and the recipe always win. You in this room are the secret sauce to that recipe. You have that power. Next slide, please. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to go pretty quickly. As a child, I always pushed boundaries. And I was always the smallest one in my classroom. I was always the smallest cousin. I still am the smallest cousin, but the oldest one, go figure. But I'm going to share this little bit of a story about a tiny little hummingbird and why the hummingbird has become the symbol of Latino Leadership Northwest. There is a story about a hummingbird. There are many stories in history and throughout culture about hummingbirds. In the indigenous communities and also in the Mexican indigenous community, we have a spiritual connection belief to hummingbirds. And so there are many stories written about hummingbirds, but there is a story written by Michael Nicol Llamas. He is an author, he is a poet. And the story goes that this little hummingbird found himself, or herself, I'm going to change it, herself, amidst a fire in the forest. Now, I want you to imagine one of our forests burning, and no one else is around except the animals. And this little hummingbird decided to take and leap into action. And this little hummingbird flew out of the forest and found the closest river, took water, and started to put out the fire. And the other animals stopped and looked around and said, "What do you think you're doing? You're so tiny, you're so small, you're so insignificant, you are nothing and nobody." And the hummingbird stops mid-flight, and the hummingbird tells the other animals, "Hey, listen, yeah, I know I'm small, and yeah, I realize I'm insignificant, but at least I am doing something about it." And he called all the animals out for not doing anything. The hummingbird was so persuasive that finally the other animals went, "Ah, man, we got to help." And the story goes that the other animals and the hummingbirds put out that fire. You see, it doesn't matter your size. It doesn't matter the space that you hold in community. It doesn't matter the color of your wings. What matters in leadership is to do something. Do not stand and do nothing. Because if a tiny hummingbird can do something, so can you. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for the amazing speech. It was amazing. Now presenting Baile Folclórico, performing a dance called Flor de Piña.
Hello, everyone. It is the greatest pride of Baile Folclórico to bring this dance to all of you. A dance that represents the beauty and the greatness of the indigenous woman of our country, México. Es por eso que hoy solamente les vengo a decir que acabamos de llegar. Medio viaje fue subir y medio viaje bajar. La montaña atravesamos y la friega fue inclemente. Pero ¿qué tal? Ya llegamos. Tuxtepec está presente. Y ya se escuchan los acordes de música sin igual y una feria de colores al atavío regional que lucen bellas mujeres de mi rincón tropical. Con un porte señoral hacen su entrada triunfal, luciendo primores mil los bordados del huipil. Y ya se inicia la danza que causa alegría y asombro. Baila doncella la danza con una piña en el hombro. Negras trenzas te coronan, usileña, niña mía. Los motivos que te adornan, todo color y alegría, que tus lindas manos bordan. De la hermosura angelical, la de Jalapa de Díaz. La de Valle Nacional, rostro que sol de mis días, flor que adorna el tabacal. De rojo tu hermoso atuendo, ay morena de Ojitlán. Y pajarillos y flores en su traje va luciendo la muchacha de Iztatlán. Soy Oltepec primorosa, mujer de facciones bellas. Cubre tu atuendo de diosa, flores que forman estrellas. Blanca túnica de seda, que adornan las mariposas. Cabellera que se enreda en mil listones y rosas. Tuxtepecana, preciosa. Baila con garbo morena, baila la danza mi niña, que las notas ya resuenan. Baila, baila, flor de piña.
We are now going to start with our student panelists. So give us a moment to set up. Sorry. Okay, so do you guys want to introduce yourselves and then what kind of leadership roles you guys take on? Oh, sorry.
My name is Lupe. I'm a senior and I'm part of MECHA, NHS, and Key Club.
My name is Fatu. I'm a junior here at Fort Vancouver High School and also one of the co-presidents of Black Student Union. I'm in ASB, REAP, and I'm also in track and field.
My name is Coralia, and I'm in ASB, REAP, and I'm a junior, and I'm also in REAP.
Hi, my name is Giza Rahman. I'm in 12th grade, and I'm part of ASB, ASU, and BSU.
Okay, for the first question, as a young woman or non-binary person, what challenges have you faced that others might not fully understand, and how have you navigated those challenges?
Some challenges I've faced as a woman is being looked down upon, not taken serious, or seen as a last option in many pics.
As a young woman, some struggles I faced was that everyone might not understand is that society tends to scrutinize women's appearances in ways that go beyond the surface level. Whether it's about weight, skin tone, or fashion choices, there's a pressure to meet beauty standards, which can be mentally draining.
So I consider myself a non-binary person, but I'm okay with being dressed by anything really. I struggle with my appearance when it comes to gender identity and fail to recognize when I criticize myself. It's a lot to build yourself the courage to stop caring about what others think, but as the years go by, I learned to not let my appearance and others saying define myself. And it's hard to build that shell, so I feel as though understanding your soul and character, it's easier to hold your ground and, be yourself.
How has your cultural background influenced your leadership style and approach to decision making?
I think my cultural background has influenced me because in Mexican culture, from a woman's perspective, it's about caring for your family and putting their needs before yours. And I think me, personally, putting my family's needs over myself is something that I'm always doing. And it's hard to get over that perspective because of the way that I was raised.
My background has influenced my leadership in standing for what matters. Nobody really understands the struggles as a Black woman who is also Muslim. We go through many obstacles just to prove a point.
For me, my cultural background has made my purpose in leadership style by having a friendly and positive attitude towards everyone and advocating for what's right and being a good example.
As an immigrant from Indonesia and Germany, I can understand how different things are. So by using the experiences I had in other cultures, it had helped me pursue different perspectives on other people and life in general. Being a diverse person, going to a diverse school, it's important for me to think about everybody and myself when it comes to decision making. It's important to treat other people how you want to be treated as well.
What does being a leader mean to you, especially as someone who represents diverse voices and perspectives in your community?
Being a leader to me is coming outside of my comfort zone to lead people to a better path in situations, being the voices of ones who can't speak up.
For me, taking your leadership role seriously and not just doing things because you have to, but because you care about the impact and cause you are making. And to me, it's important to move forward and not look back. And as young leaders who will be future leaders, it's important that we also don't let past events in history repeat itself, and that we should take initiative even if it challenges the current status quo.
Being a leader to me means to take charge and go through the challenges that things and others put on you. You're supposed to deal with the comments because it makes you a better leader in general. I think it's also important to give yourself grace, but also let others speak for themselves and give them an opportunity to express their opinions and choices.
Have you ever had to confront biases or stereotypes in your leadership journey? How did you handle those situations?
Yes, I have. The biggest reason was last year's incident with some people using derogatory language. Ways that we handled this situation was going to school board meetings, talking to the news, and also being on a lot of the social media pages, which I encourage you all to do.
For me, I haven't experienced this much at school, but when I'm in different environments around people who mostly don't look like me or understand me, they act surprised when I tell them an accomplishment of mine, or they assume certain things about my lifestyle when that isn't the case. So when certain things happen like this, I just respectfully correct them.
With the way I look, I'm Asian, so people tend to always have this idea that I'm non-talkative or I just kind of let things go the way it goes, but I actually love to talk and I love to get to know people and blab of whatever nonsense. So in hindsight, people tend to overlook the quiet people because some don't want to hear them out, especially people of color who are quiet as well. So generally speaking, I usually don't confront those situations straight away. I usually just let my actions speak for itself and let other people recognize that.
What advice do you have for young leaders who might feel like their voices aren't being heard?
My dad always told me, estudia para que seas alguien en la vida, which means basically educate yourself so you become something in life. And this sentence has inspired me to, believe in what I do. So my advice would be that even if you feel like your voice isn't being heard, speak up for what you believe in, because at the end of the day, you only have yourself. And if you don't speak up for what you believe in, then nobody else will.
And advice that I'll give people is make your moves. If you feel like you aren't being heard, bring people together to support you, such as meetings, protests, and posts. Advocate yourself to do what's right.
I believe that everyone holds power in their voice, but you just have to use it. It can be hard to have a different perspective or opinion from everybody around you, but that is why leaders and change makers use their voice to create a better change and future for everyone. And you should stand up for causes that hurt other people, even if it doesn't affect you directly.
One advice I can give you is just talk and talk and talk. Because when you think about a situation where you're following another leader and you criticize them for being bossy, strict, stubborn, etc., ask yourself this. Were you still listening to them and doing the tasks they ask of you? Probably, right? And when you feel like you've tried everything to have your voice be heard, recognize that and leave with respect for yourself. Because your voice always matters, and when it's not proven to you, walk away.
Okay, can we give a huge, huge round of applause to our amazing panelists? Thank you everyone for joining us today, and a big thank you to everyone who participated and made this assembly possible. We could not have done it without your help. And thank you all for being an amazing audience. I also want to remind you all that we have our annual car show coming up on May 17th from 12 to 5 p.m. Stay tuned for more details and follow our Instagram if you haven't already. And again, thank you all for joining us and being awesome. Thanks. And Mecha meetings are held on Tuesdays usually in Rivard's room, so join us.